Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on the old show today, you remember this machine, the Fisker Karma? Yes, the company, Wangjing Automotive in China, actually owns the distribution rights and all the intellectual properties of this particular vehicle. And they're going to relaunch the company very soon, but the Fisker part is going to go away. It's actually just going to be called Karma, at least for now. That's their official new name. Not for 100% sure what exactly they're going to build, whether they're going to go back to building the old Karma itself, or whether there's going to be a brand new machine coming forward. We'll have to wait and see on that deal. Another little interesting situation, the Chinese company is going to keep the worldwide headquarters in Southern California, which I thought was kind of interesting as well. This vehicle was plagued with issues. It had tons of quality problems, and it just never really flew, but it was gorgeous to look at. So I'm hoping if they can just fix the quality issues, go right back to selling these machines, that would be pretty doggone great. Next up on the list, we've talked about this particular machine in the past. This is the Ferrari F12, apparently a Speciale. This photograph was actually taken inside of the facility in Maranello. Apparently this thing was pounding around the Fiorano test track, and a lot of people are pointing towards this being more track-focused F12 Berlinetta. Now, this thing has never ever come out as being official. It's just kind of been a rumor with these pictures floating about. But the folks over at the Supercar Kids are claiming within the next probably week or so, we're going to have an official announcement from Ferrari saying this vehicle is going into production, and hopefully have a whole bunch of new specs and new pieces and parts that we can talk about as far as this machine is concerned. So we'll wait a couple of weeks and maybe we'll have some more news coming soon. Next up on the list, in a story that has been, well, it's been over 50 years in the making. Yes, you may recognize this car, and you may recognize the chap then behind the wheel. Yes, it's movie star James Dean, one of the most iconic actors of all time, especially because of his timely death that was inside of this very machine. Mr. Dean was a huge car guy, huge petrol head, and a big race fan, and loved to motor race, and actually purchased this particular 1955 Porsche 550 Spider, and was heading out to race that particular vehicle that particular weekend when he came in contact with an older couple that actually pulled out in front of him, and he actually impacted them and was killed on sight. Now, the trick of that is all that stuff is 100% true, but the car, that is, has never ever been seen since. In fact, when the car was actually collected from the crash site, it never got to its destination. Now here we are 50 years later, and there is a Las Vegas man who's now come forward and has claimed that when he was 6 years old, he remembered his father being contracted with several other people to build a building in Bellingham, Washington, where the car apparently has been brought. They built this building to actually fade in with the background, to fade in and kind of match the existing scenery so it didn't look way out of place. The car was apparently kept there, and it's been there ever since, or at least according to this guy. This guy has actually passed a polygraph test and has took on legal representation, all for the fact that there's the Volo Museum, which is in northern Illinois, up near Chicago. They actually have put out a bounty on this car of $1 million. This fellow wants a chunk of that cash and claims he knows where this car is. Now, a ton of people have come forward and claimed they knew where this car actually has existed, but nothing's ever become concrete. But the fact that this guy's taken legal representation, has passed a polygraph test, claims he knows where it is and may have a real shot at it. The Volo Museum is actually looking into it, and the fella is as well. Now, the trick of this deal is, according to the Volo Museum, the actual car, the building, and the plot of land that it's on is not owned by the Las Vegas man, which means he's going to have to make a deal with whoever owns this building and whatnot to try to get a chunk of this cash. And apparently he's not going to get the whole $1 million, because a lot of that $1 million is going to be going towards purchasing the automobile itself. So again, this deal may never come to light, and it could be done at least in a couple of weeks or so. We'll have to wait and see on this deal. It's very, very intriguing. Think that this car has been gone for 50 years. Quite possibly may get to actually see this car once again. Last up on the list, we're going to talk about September sales inside of the U.S. market, which has just been booming over the past several months. In fact, September sales come in at 1.43 million units were sold in the month of September, which is up 11.2% year over year. Now, the interesting thing, obviously, is the big sales winners were trucks, crossover, and SUVs, as them as a unit has actually come in at just a touch under 19% up year over year. Passenger car sales were just a touch over 2% year over year, but all that including has made the SAR, the seasonal annual adjusted rate, which a lot of people were pointing towards being somewhere between the mid 17.5 million unit range, has now jumped over 18.07 million units is what they're projecting for the year if it continues on this way, which is huge. You haven't had numbers like this in close to 10 years. So it'll be interesting to see how good of a finish you have here inside of the U.S. market as far as automobile sales are concerned. And we'll keep you in tune if we hear any more. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. If you want to jump on over to the Facebook page, links down in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, you can do so at any time and get the first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again real soon.